The local market once again closing in record territory this afternoon. Analysts say it has much to do with early indications suggesting that the effect of the Omicron variant is not as severe as initially feared. Masilela from Makwe Fund Managers joins us now from some analysis. Makwe, good showing today. The miners were high, so too were resources. Some industrial stocks were also up there. It certainly seems like the fears of this new variant causing economic damage, they are easing, and perhaps it's one of the reasons why we had a good showing today.
Most definitely, Devan, because we're worried about that it's going to have a negative impact when it comes to the global economic growth. Remember, we factored in the impact of Delta variant. So this new variant caught us by surprise. Hence, we saw the markets reacting the way they were doing last week or so. But now we've reported that, listen, this might be milder. So as a result, we don't expect economic impact to be that severe. And also remember, we had a comment coming from one of the British drug makers that one of their antibody treatments seems to be very effective when it comes to the new strain. So that itself is helping the markets. But also not forgetting what China has been doing, trying to put more liquidity into the market, as we've seen that they've reduced their percentage when it comes to the reserves that their banks need to hold. And the minute they do that, it means they're going to be releasing more money into the economy that will be able to be lent out to businesses so that they can continue to stimulate the economy. And I guess that's the opposite of what the US is doing, but more or less what the European Central Bank will be doing, because they don't think of increasing interest rates come next year.
Now, we saw that optimism in the oil price. That took off as well. But I'm not quite sure why the rand weakened through the day, Makwe. I mean, I'm assuming we got a bit of a reality check on our GDP growth figure. I mean, that's now what economists are saying, you know, normalization. You think the rand's weakness has got to do with that GDP figure?
The knee-jerk reaction was that because we saw the rand touching 1601, but now has just managed to regain most of those losses. And it's a question of what we've been seeing with commodity currencies. Look what it's been doing with the Australian dollar as well. And we know that people expect that, at least for the fact that we don't expect the economies to be affected that much, probably that might also influence the likelihood of the US moving much faster when it comes to tapering. Because remember, we have factored in that they will taper. But the question here is how fast or the rapidness of them removing the easy money in the economy.
Now, Makwe, just finally, before I let you go, we've got this big tech giant in Asia, Tencent. It will now own up to 8% of Patrice Motsepe's Time Bank. That's if the latest funding materializes. That's a very interesting development, isn't it?
By all means, and it's not just a question of money here. Remember, early this year, they've raised almost 1.7 billion. Now it's 1.1 billion, taking it to 2.8. Is the fact that they will also rely on their platforms to help them to mitigate any risk going forward as the bank continues to approach the low middle class people who've not been having exposure to the bank. But remember, in 32 months, the bank itself managed to have almost 4 million customers. I think this is confidence when it comes to our economy, and also for Time Bank, because they will continue to explore the markets like the Philippines as well going forward. And we know that they are in partnership with the like to the Foschini Group, giving them exposure to at least the higher LSM, and we are Pick and Pay and we are Boxer, not forgetting the ZCC Church.
Makwe, just sorry, one thing, if I can sneak one in here. NEDLAC met today. I mean, this is the government business labor body here. We thought we'd get some sort of finality, or close to that, on the mandatory vaccination position. It looks like they are waiting to see what comes out of that declaratory order that business is seeking at the courts. I mean, this is a big one if you're looking at markets and the economy. And I mean, the sooner or later we get certainty on the mandatory vaccines, the better sort of certainty we have on the markets and the economy overall, I would think.
Definitely, and yes, you are right. People are expecting that kind of an announcement sometime this week, as the president stated that they're consulting on that. But I think NEDLAC, they're playing it safe. They don't want to come with a declaration and thereafter people take them to the court and the constitutional court. So I think it's a question of playing it safe to make sure that whatever they will be implementing, and we know that they are weighing more into having vaccines being compulsory, they want to make sure that they're still within the constitution to do that.
Makwe Masilela from Makwe Fund Managers. Thanks very much indeed.